We have eyes on Howard University right now. We can tell you that Vice President Harris is not expected to speak tonight, but we are seeing quite a crowd there, and we are expecting, we're within the 2-minute warning from a statement that we're expecting from the Harris campaign co-chair Cedric Richmond. Cedric Richmond expected to address this crowd at Howard momentarily. Again, we don't expect to be hearing from Vice President Harris. But I think, actually, if we can go to this live so we can hear the Natsat here, so we can hear Cedric Richmond and what he's going to say to the crowd and also how the crowd receives him. This is live from Howard University in Washington, D.C.
Good evening, Howard. Good evening, HU. I want to say good evening to all of the Harris campaign, the campaign family. Thank you for all that you have done. Thank you for being here. Thank you for believing in the promise of America. We still have votes to count. We still have states that have not been called yet. We will continue overnight to fight to make sure that every vote is counted, that every voice has spoken. So you won't hear from the Vice President tonight, but you will hear from her tomorrow. She will be back here tomorrow to address not only the HU family, not only to address her supporters, but to address the nation. So thank you. We believe in you. May God bless you. May God keep you. And go HU and go Harris. Thank you all.
A short and to-the-point statement from Cedric Richmond, the Harris campaign co-chair, speaking to what is still a considerable crowd at Howard University in Washington, D.C. You now see them turn as one to start to leave the grounds. They're letting the crowd assembled there for the Harris campaign and for in support of Vice President Harris, letting everybody know that she's not going to be speaking on any subject over the course of this evening. Cedric Richmond saying we still have votes to count. We still have states that have not been called yet. You will not hear from her tonight, but he did say that you will hear from her tomorrow, I think indicating that she may be speaking from Howard tomorrow, both addressing HU, Howard University, but also addressing the nation, in his words.
I just wanted to sort of re-emphasize a point that Lawrence made before that speech about where we stand tonight. We're looking at a map that appears to show somewhere in a national 3 or 4 point swing from 2020 towards the Republican Party. We have called the Senate for the Republican Party. That they were always favored to take the Senate, given the map, so it's not hugely surprising. There is a weird wrinkle here, which is the House of Representatives. Now, in 2016, of course, when Donald Trump won that race, despite losing the national popular vote, he won the White House, the Senate, and a House majority. He had a trifecta. When Joe Biden won in 2020, he had the Senate and the House a trifecta, thanks to those 2 Georgia runoffs. It is a genuine possibility that should Donald Trump win the presidency, which is not yet called, the Senate is called for Republicans, the Democrats take back the House from Republicans. This is not like crazy talk. This is not like some, it's 1 in the morning and I'm punchy. Like, mathematically, based on what we know so far, based on the flips we have, that is genuinely an outstanding possibility. That could be massively consequential in ways that I cannot overemphasize.
And we're going to have to, as we start to see House races get called and as we watch for additional flips and ads, we're going to have to talk about those consequences over the course of this night. You're not going to get away with it, with leaving without talking about those consequences. But before we leave Howard University, I want to go actually to MSNBC's Michelle Norris, who's at Howard University for us, who just saw those remarks from Cedric Richmond. We saw the reaction from the crowd from that aerial or that high-mounted shot in terms of people turning and leaving. Cedric Richmond, Michelle, making clear that the vice president will not be speaking tonight. Nobody should be waiting to hear anything from her. But it does sound like, was I right in understanding what Cedric Richmond was saying, that she will be back at Howard tomorrow to make remarks both to Howard and to the nation?
Yes, you heard that right. The crowd, you can probably see behind me the rush to the exits. I mean, as soon as he said that, people turned on their heels and they were out of here. The evening was getting increasingly somber as people realized what this map is looking like. He did indicate that she would be back tomorrow to speak to people here and to speak to the nation. That, of course, is a logistical nightmare on several levels because the university was not expecting her to come back tomorrow. I don't know how large the crowd will be. There are a lot of unknowns in that statement. I do know that there was a lot of hand-wringing and consternation in her camp about when she should leave, about when she should start to head here. And her victory party, which was in another part of town, at what point they turned off the TV set and just piped up the music because the room was starting to get increasingly somber. So a lot of people here, I haven't had a chance to talk to people who expressed disappointment. Now, there really is still a lot of people who are holding on to hope, trying hard to hold on to hope. But the numbers, it's hard to do that in the face of a map that really looks like it's presenting a very steep challenge, and a country that at this point is still very divided.
And to be clear, Michelle, NBC News has called 2 of the 7 swing states. They have called Georgia and North Carolina for Donald Trump. They've also called Senate control for the Republican Party. 5 swing states remain to be called. But as you say, the internal math, which we have been following with Steve Kornacki, the wins in Georgia and North Carolina have created the mood that you're describing. The last thing that we have reportable from the Harris campaign, the top of the Harris campaign manager, Jen O'Malley Dillon, said, we always knew it was going to be down to the blue wall, and the blue wall is still uncalled at this point. But it sounds like the Harris campaign is sort of keeping things tight in terms of whether or not they're going to string people along into thinking this is going to happen.
And in that note that Jen O'Malley Dillon sent out earlier, there was an indication there, if you noted, that came out, a little more than an hour ago. And she was telling people at that point, get some sleep. We'll continue to count these votes, and we'll be back at this in the morning.
Yes, that's right. Michelle Norris, I imagine, are not freeing you to go sleep anytime soon. I imagine we may be back with you yet. But thank you for being there for us. It's much appreciated. Seeing Cedric Richmond come out and make those remarks at Howard, you can see how it could be different, right? You can see how they could expect that to be the candidate. I think they planned for everything in terms of, it's close, or Harris is ahead, but Trump declares victory. I mean, all these things that everybody gamed out. Now, while we're just waiting for the blue wall states to come in and watching the math, sending people home is also like asking people to conserve their emotional energy, I think.
And it's not possible. I mean, I think there's no other way to describe how people are feeling leaving that venue and people on the campaign than deflated in this moment. Yes, all of the other states have not been called. But what they went to that venue tonight hoping to see and witness was a historic election of Kamala Harris to the presidency, was the end of the Trump era as they knew it. And so we don't know the outcome yet, but that is not what they are receiving, and they are being told to go home and wait till tomorrow.